It's now time for SAU Magazine, featuring news and events occurring on the SAU campus.
Welcome to SAU Magazine. I'm Connie Brown.
And I'm Robert Morris.
Some upcoming events on the SAU campus are the Endowment Banquet on April 7th, Spring Fling on April 8th, sponsored by the Student Government Association, the Bass Tournament April 11th, RHA elections on April 16th, and the Spring Greek Show sponsored by Sigma Gamma Rho Sorority and Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity on April 18th, and the RHA Honors and Awards Banquet on April 21st.
Today on SAU Magazine, Connie Brown will interview Angela Coleman, the Women's Area Coordinator. Stay tuned to SAU Magazine after these messages.
The Southern Arkansas University Theater Department will be presenting The Foreigner from April 22nd to the 25th. The cast includes Paul Murphy as Charlie, Chris Coleman as Ellard, David Pickens as Reverend David, Haley Nix as Betty, Chris Cortez as Froggy, Rhonda Munn as Catherine, and Ken Stonecipher as Owen. This production is directed by Dr. Dan Skelton and will be performed in Harton Theater on the SAU campus. Admission will be $2 for students and $3 for adults. Come and laugh till your sides hurt.
Hello, Angela. How are you? And welcome to SAU Magazine.
Hi, Connie. Thank you for having me.
First of all, what exactly are the duties of the Women's Area Coordinator?
I provide a lot of functions. The first thing that I do is I coordinate all the housing for all the women, and I basically hand put all their information into the computer and update all the housing information. And I'm in charge of two women's buildings, Bussey Hall and Nelson Hall, and I also coordinate the summer camps during the summer.
How would you say your relationship with the students are?
I think it's gotten a lot better. I was new. I came in 1990, in the spring semester, so school had already started, and I think my relations with the students have vastly improved over the year.
How does your responsibilities as the coordinator affect your family life?
I provide a lot of different activities throughout the hall, so it does take a lot of my time away from family. But I try to incorporate some special time just for my family, and I think my RAs know that, so they kind of, provide that time for me and do some of the duties for me.
Considering when you got here, the new visitation policies weren't in effect, so how do you feel about the new ones now that you have to check in and sign out with the new method? How do you feel about that?
I think it has improved the security system, especially in the women's hall, a tremendous amount. We don't have near the complication and problems that we had before the visitation policy, the new one, was implemented. So I think that it has really has had a positive effect on the residents.
So what would you say are the advantages and disadvantages of being the Women's Area Coordinator?
The advantages are just the fact that I love my job and I get to meet so many different people. I travel a great deal and I see a lot of new ideas, the way other schools are doing their methods, and it really helps me to know that that the things that we do here are so much better than some of the other schools are doing. I think a disadvantage is because I'm doing so many different things, I tend to miss out on some of my personal time, but it kind of, those are just the ins and out of the job.
Well, Angela, you're attending grad school, right?
Correct.
So do you plan to stay at SAU or do you plan to move on after graduation?
It really depends on the job opportunities that are available at the time. Right now, I'm just concentrating on graduating with hopefully a master's degree in agency counseling, and then we'll just see what happens then.
What would you say is one of your biggest accomplishments as the Women Area Coordinator?
Well, I've recently been chosen the co-chairperson of the Human Development Resources Committee that's sponsored throughout the area schools and throughout the region, and those regions include Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, And what we do is we sponsor a yearly conference that we go to every year. And this next year, 93, SAU and the other Arkansas schools will host what's called SWACUHO, and that will be held in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Do you ever consider yourself as a mother figure to the students?
I don't consider myself a mother figure, more so than just a confidant. Um, I don't really think they think me of me in that sense, but I think that they think of me as a person that they can come to if they do need help.
Well, Angela, you also work in student affairs on the SAU campus. So, what is your job task over there?
There, I serve really as the women's area coordinator, and my duties are the same. So they don't extend as far as housing per se, but I do the area coordinator job and the hall director job, or one in itself. So I take care of a lot of the paperwork and coordinate a lot of activities throughout my office.
Okay, what is your biggest challenge?
Recent or now?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think now is trying to um, just concentrate on the things. I'm trying to concentrate on fall. There are a lot of projects that we have this summer that we have to accomplish, and I'm just really concentrating on the future and the things that I need to prepare myself for.
Well, thank you, Angela, for being with us today on SAU Magazine. We'll be back after this break with more of SAU Magazine.
Kevin. Kevin was a great guy. We were best friends in high school. I'll never forget the wild and crazy things he used to do. Like the times he'd down a few brews and cross the state line looking for a little trouble. Yeah, he'd smoke that pot every now and then too, but we thought he'd be okay. Kevin got into some heavier drugs and eventually died of a heroin overdose. He couldn't keep it under control. He just kept using. Alcohol and drug abuse. I've watched a few minds go up in flames. Don't let yours do the same.
Large versus small universities. Is there a difference? And what does it mean to be an African American student on the SAU campus today, where African American enrollment is 18%? Today, Robert Morris will speak to Thomas Messer, a senior at SAU from Walker, Arkansas. Messer has been at SAU for 4 years but spent some time at Grambling State University in Grambling, Louisiana. At SAU, where white enrollment is 79%, and African Americans' views are quite different than they would be at a predominantly black college like Grambling University. Coming up next, Robert will speak with Messer to get some of his views on being an African American student at SAU.
Welcome to SAU Magazine. I'm here today with SAU student Thomas Messer. Thomas is a local product. He's from Walker High School. How you doing today, Thomas?
Just fine, just fine.
I'm doing pretty well. Thomas, what made you decide to come to Southern Arkansas University?
Well, truthfully, Southern Arkansas University wasn't my first choice. I started out at Grambling State University, and due to financial problems with Pell Grant and so forth, I wound up, this was the closest thing I could get to and get applications in and accepted before the school year started.
What was the difference in the paying of tuition between here and Grambling State?
Well, it was a real big difference because attending Grambling State, being that it's out-of-state university, out-of-state fee would make tuition go up a great deal. Semester by every semester, I was paying about $2,400 some odd dollars.
That's quite a bit of money for school.
Quite a bit.
Have you found anything about SAU that's been rewarding? Any positive aspects?
Well, to me, there are some positive aspects to being here on this campus than opposed to being on Grambling State's campus. Being there at Grambling, there's a lot more to distract you than here at SAU.
Those distractions there, what type of distractions were they?
Well, you've got the people are more, I'd say, outgoing, as far as uh, the partying, the hanging out. You have different places to hang out there on the campus. You got different surroundings on the campus, the clubs, the this and that. When there's not that here at SAU, and I feel like sometimes if I had gone to Grambling, I probably would have gotten caught up in some of that. But here I'm away from it. It helps out a little.
What have you found at SAU that you're not satisfied with?
Oh, the list goes on and on. Um, you can start from teachers in the classrooms, just on down the line. Sometimes our teachers get away from teaching and they're just talking instead of teaching.
Do you think there's too much of a problem with teachers being a little bit too familiar with the students?
I haven't run into that problem myself, but um, if you pay close attention, you can kind of see that some teachers show favoritism to some students. They will do more for one student than they would do for another.
Um, since Grambling State is a predominantly black college, do you find it that there's a lack of emphasis on black history studies at Southern Arkansas University?
Yes, I do, because nobody here, the university here doesn't have a study on any type of black history. The students get here about black history from the programs that are put on by, the different organizations, Black Students Association and so forth. But as far as the classroom teaching of black history, you have none.
Would you advise? Let me put this question another way. How would you advise, say, a high school senior who's getting out of school and trying to prepare to go to college? How would you advise that person as to which college to choose?
Well, the first thing I would advise them to do is, first of all, do a study on the campus, the university, and if possible, visit the university, not just the outside, what you see outside of the university, but dig a little bit into what the university can do for you, what they have to offer you. And I mean, that's probably the best advice I could give.
All right, thanks, Thomas, and that's all for today. We'll be back with SAU Magazine again next week. Thanks a lot.
This presentation has been brought to you by the Advanced Radio Production class at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.